Dear students, in this video lecture we are going to discuss the different signaling schemes which are mainly observed in mobile cellular network, that is common channel signaling and signaling system number 7. So here we can able to see the typical arrangement which is observed in common channel signaling. So here the two switches are connected by using voice and data trunk, and one more line we can able to see here in dotted line. So this is nothing but the signaling link. So in case of common channel signaling, the dedicated lines for voice and data purpose and dedicated line or separate line for signaling purpose. In between the two nodes are switches. So common channel signaling, which is observed in digital communication field, which provides simultaneous transmission of user data, signaling data and other service related traffic throughout the network. So this is achieved by using out of band signaling channels which logically separate the network data from user information, that is voice or data, on the same channel. So in second generation of CCS, common channel signaling, where CCS is used to pass user data and control and supervisory signals between the subscriber and the base station, and between the base station and mobile switching center, and in between mobile switching centers. So common channel signaling scheme or technique, which is mainly observed in mobile cellular network, where base stations will communicate with the mobile switching centers and MSC to MSC communication or signaling with the help of common channel signaling. So even though the concept of CCS implies dedicated parallel channel, it is implemented in a time division multiplex format for serial data transmission. So this is the main advantage of the CCS based cellular network. So CCS is an out of band signaling. So as I said, the separate lines for the data and voice purpose and separate line for the signaling purpose. So this allows much faster communication between two nodes within the PSTN. So as we know, the mobile cellular network is established by using the PSTN network, where the mobile switching center and switching centers and the base stations are connected by using dedicated voice and data trunk and signaling lines. So instead of being constrained to signaling data rates which are on the order of audio frequencies, CCS supports signaling data rates from 56 kbps to many Mbps. Thus, network signaling data is carried in a seemingly parallel out of band and signaling channel, while only user data is carried on the PSTN. So in PSTN also we can able to see the separate lines for the data and the signaling purpose the separate lines. So in this way CCS provides a substantial increase in number of users which are served by the trunk PSTN lines, but it requires that the dedicated portion of the trunk time be used to provide signaling channel used for the network traffic. So in the first generation, the SS7 family of the protocols as defined by the ISDN, that is Integrated Service Digital Network, are used to provide common channel signaling scheme. So here we can able to see in this block diagram. So this is the traditional PSTN and mobile cellular network. So here we can able to see MSC1 and MSC2, two different mobile switching centers are connected by using PSTN network. and in between the two mobile switching centers a separate SS7 block. So this particular SS7 block is responsible for signaling and communication purpose. So MSC1 is located at one network and MSC2 in the another network. So in the bracket we can able to say MSC1 related to the home MSC and MSC2 is visitor MSC, and these MSC are connected to BSS, and again BSS are connected to the BTS. So here we can able to see the two hexagonal shapes, two BTS are available, and here the one mobile station is changing its location from one base station network or coverage area to the another. So here the cell phone or the mobile phone is changing its location in home area, and its whole information we are getting in the home MSC database. So here HLR means home location register, VLR indicates visitor location register, and AUC is the authentication purpose block. And at the right hand side, in case of visitor MSC, so here also we can able to see the MSC is connected to HLR, VLR, AUC, and here MSC2 are again connected to the number of BTS, base transceiver stations. Okay, so suppose one of the mobile is changing its location or moving from one location or home location MSC one network to the another network. So at that time that particular mobile phone become a roamer. So at that time his information get checked in the visitor location register, and at that time the mobile switching centers will take care during the handoff procedure. So in this way, during the communication or handoff procedure, the MSC to MSC communication with the help of PSTN and SS7 block is responsible for signaling. So without interrupting or without disturbing the connection, voice communication and data communication, the one mobile will move from home network to the another network, that is visitor network or the another network. So that particular user become a roamer. So in this way, in mobile cellular network, it is observed that the SS7 plays an important role during the handoff kind of procedures, where the mobile switching centers will communicate with each other to provide the service to the user. So SS7 signaling protocol is widely used for common channel. SS7 is used to interconnect the most of the cellular mobile switching centers. So it is the key factor in enabling autonomous registration and automated roaming in first generation cellular system. So SS7 is an outcome of out of band signaling, first developed by CCITT, means Consultative Committee for International Telephony and Telegraphy, under the common channel signaling standard, that is CCS number 6. So further work caused or some modifications are done in the signaling scheme as per the ISO and OSI reference model, and the name is given SS7, where highly layered structure, that is transparent from layer to layer, is used to provide network communication. So peer layers in OSI model communicate with each other through a virtual or packet data interface, and hierarchical interface structure is get established. Now we'll see the comparison between the 7-layered OSI reference model and the SS7 protocol standard. So lowest three layers of the OSI model we know very well, that is physical layer, data link layer and network layer, are handled in SS7 by network service part, that is NSP of the protocol, which in turn is made up of three message transfer parts, that is MTPs, and signaling connection control part, that is SCCP of the SS7 protocol. So here we can able to see 7 layers of the OSI reference model: physical layer, data link layer and network layer. So these three layers are mapped on the NSP of SS7 protocol architecture. So physical layer, data link layer and network layer are mapped on the message transfer part, that is MTP. So MTP level 1, MTP level 2 and MTP level 3. Signaling connection control part again with the network layer of the OSI model, and higher layers, that is transport session, presentation layer and application layer, are with the upper parts or upper protocols of the SS7. So here we can able to see the ISDN user part is mapped on application to transport layer. TCAP, OMAP and ASE are mapped on the application layer. So we will go one by one from the bottom of the protocol architecture. So here OMAP means operation, maintenance and administration part. ASE is nothing but application service element. TCAP, transaction capabilities application part. SCCP, signaling connection control part. MTP, message transfer part, and NSP is the network service part. So network service part includes the three layers of the OSI: physical layer, data link layer and network layer. So first of all, network service part, which consists of the MTP1 to MTP3. So it provides ISDN nodes, integrated service digital network nodes, with highly reliable and efficient means of exchanging signaling traffic using connectionless service. SCCP in SS7 actually supports the packet data network, as it is mapped on the network layer of the OSI model, which interconnection or interconnects as well as the connection oriented networking to virtual circuit network. This NSP network service part allows network node to communicate throughout the world without concern of the application or context of signaling traffic. Then message transfer part, that is MTP level 1 to MTP level 3. So it ensures that signaling traffic can be transferred and delivered reliably between end user and between the networks. Also it provides the three levels, as I said, MTP level 1 to MTP level 3. So here we can able to see the typical blocks observed in message transfer part, which consists of user message processing, common transfer function, and in between the common transfer function, signaling link, which consists of link control function, signaling data link and link control function. So this includes the message transfer part. So in each message transfer part, that is level 1, level 2 and level 3, you will get this kind of blocks. So out of these blocks, signaling data link layer, signaling data link function in MTP level 1 provides interface to actual physical channel over which the communication takes place. So MTP level 1 is mapped or compared with the physical layer of the OSM model, where all kind of transmission media, the different connection types, ports, transmission medias, the standards are given. So physical channel may include copper wire, twisted pair cable, fiber optic cable, mobile radio, that is wireless link, satellite link, and other medias are transferred to higher layers. CCITT recommends the MTP level 1 use 64 kbps for the transmission, whereas ANSI standard recommends 56 kbps. The minimum data rate provided for the telephony control operation is about 4.8 kbps. Then the second level, that is signaling link function, that is MTP level 2, correspond to the second layer of the OSI reference model. So it provides reliable link for transfer of traffic between two directly connected signaling points. Then variable length packet message, also known as the message signal unit, that is MSU, are defined in MTP level 2. So here at MTP level 2 you will find the variable length packets known as the MSUs. So single MSU cannot have the packet length which exceeds 272 octets, and standard 16-bit CRC checksum is included in each MSU for error detection. So in the packet of MSU you will find the 16-bit CRC for error detection purpose, and then wide range of the error detection and so wide range of error detection and correction features are provided at MTP level 2. So this level 2 also provides the flow control mechanism between the two signaling points as means of the sensing link failure. If suppose link get failure, so at that time, depending on the status of the media, the MTP level 2 provides or maintain the flow of the packets. If the receiving device does not respond to the data transmission, MTP level 2 uses TIMO to detect link failure and notifies the higher layer of the SS7 protocol, which takes the appropriate action to reconnect the link for the retransmission of the data packets. Then at level 3, signaling network function, MTP level 3 provides the procedure that transfer messages between the signaling nodes. So as far as the ISDN is concerned, there are two types of MTP level 3 functions. So first one is the signaling message handling function, and second the signaling network management function. So here signaling message handling is used to provide the packet routing, distribution, traffic discrimination. So discrimination is the process by which the signaling points determines whether or not a packet data message is intended for its use or not. Then signaling network management allows the network to reconfigure in case of node failure and has provision to allocate alternate path or a route in case of the congestion and blockage in the network. The next block in this protocol architecture, that is signaling connection control part, that is SCCP. So this SCCP is responsible to enhance the addressing capabilities provided by the MTP, that is message transfer part. It uses the local addressing based on the subsystem numbers, that is SSN, to identify user at the signaling node. Also, it provides the ability to address global title message such as 800 numbers or non-billed numbers. So there are 4 classes of services offered by this SCCP. So out of the 4, 2 are the connectionless service and 2 are connection oriented service. So here we can able to see the different services offered by this SCCP. So class 0 to class 3, 4 services, and the type of the service. So class 0 service is related to the basic connection class. Class 1 is a service related to the sequenced MTP connectionless class. Class 2 is related to the basic connection oriented class, and class 3 service deals with the flow control connection oriented class. Then the SS7 user part. So as far as the protocol architecture is concerned, SS7 user part provide call control, management function and call setup capabilities to the network. So these are higher layer in SS7 reference model compared with the upper layers of the OSM model, and utilize the transport facilities provided by the MTP and the SCCP. So this SS7 user part include the ISDN user part, that is ISUP, and the transactional capabilities application part, that is TCAP, and operation maintenance and administration part, that is OMAP. The telephone user part, that is TUP, and the data user part, that is DUP, are included in this particular ISUP in case of ISDN network. So about the transaction capabilities application part, that is TCAP. So it refers to application layer which invokes the services of SCCP and the MTP in hierarchical format. So here one application at a node is thus able to execute an application at another node and use these results. Thus TCAP is concerned with remote operation. So this TCAP messages are used by the IS41 standard. Then about the operation maintenance and administration part, this OMAP functions include the monitoring, coordination and control functions to ensure that trouble-free communication between the nodes. Also it supports the diagnostics operations, also known throughout the global network, to determine the loading and specific sub-network behaviors. So this is about the TCAP and OMAP. Now we'll summarize the advantages of the common channel signaling over the conventional signaling. So first advantage is the faster call setup. So in case of CCS, high speed signaling network are used for transferring the call setup messages, resulting in smaller delay times when compared with conventional signaling methods such as multi-frequency technique. The second feature or advantage is the greater trunking or queuing efficiency. So this CCS has the shorter call setup and tear down times that results in less call holding time, subsequently reducing the traffic on the network. So this is the main advantage of this CCS. And in case of heavy traffic condition, high trunking efficiency is obtained. Then information transfer, the next feature advantage. So this CCS allows the transfer of additional information along with the signaling traffic, providing the facilities such as caller identification, voice or data identification. So this is about the common channel signaling and SS7 signaling scheme mainly observed in mobile cellular network.